So we're hot off of our 5 minute flash interview with 3 minutes and 40 seconds current record. I don't know if I want to encourage that, right? Come in, people get just short speed answers, but maybe it's a fun little game we'll kind of create as we go on. There were some interesting things you brought up about communication and, listening. And like you said, it was one of your passions. One of the things you love to do is communicating. And then one of the business owner recommendations you followed up with is, listen and do that. And to me, it just seems rooted in communication. And that's such a huge thing. Like, is that what you're
Mhm.
observing? Is people are more like, this is what you need to do and not listening to clients. And that's how they're kind of losing or, stalling themselves on growth.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like people, it's stalling on growth, such an interesting thing. Yes, 100% yes. So we're we as an industry, the MSP folks as an industry are they're servant leaders. They sincerely they love technology and they want to help people. And
Yeah.
that is a super common thread, right? You get these super passionate engineering geniuses who see a problem and say, I can do this better. I could do this more cost effective. I can provide a better service to people. It's a service industry. But the problem is that we get in our own way. Like we're super into technology. We love technology. We love all
Following
the
the
things we can do
baubles, the
with it.
shiny
Yeah,
things.
the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bits and the baubles and all the things. And what we got to remember is like the doctor, the lawyer, the whoever um, from our customer base don't necessarily love technology. Sometimes, like, and doctors are easy for me to talk about because I grew up in a healthcare household.
Yeah.
My MSP was huge in healthcare, and they have technology forced on them.
Oh yeah.
So,
Compliancy.
unlike,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, it's even bigger than compliance. It's their money. So the insurance companies and Medicare will penalize them if they don't check the right box or click the right drop down or create super structured data, which if you talk to any doctor says, I don't use this stuff at all. This does not improve your patient care. In fact, it decreases your patient care because I'm spending too much time clicking boxes instead of talking to you
Yeah.
about what the problems are.
Hmm.
And that technology, like that creates this view in certain client bases where technology is not good. It's bad. It's just this thing I do because otherwise I lose 15-20% of my revenue
Yeah. Yeah.
because I get dinged on insurance reimbursements. And you can see the thread industry to industry to industry, which really sucks because technology can be this force multiplier, but you have to change the hearts and minds of people. And I've listened to thousands of hours of managed service provider prospecting calls as well as discovery meetings. And the amount of times people take off the student hat, put on the teacher hat, and vomit text speed all over someone, man, it's
That's.
terrible.
I think I'd almost be curious from a psyche standpoint. Like to your point, like we love talking about this technology stuff, and
Mm.
I think probably early on, at least like even when I was doing my early sales and like pre-sales consulting and things like that, I was passionate. I just loved talking about the stuff, and like I could see how it would immediately solve their problems, and that's all I wanted to talk about. And on the other side, it's just white noise to them probably. They're like, okay, like this guy's clearly excited about this, but like I've already shut my brain off. Like I don't understand what he's saying. He's saying it's going to fix my problems, and then someone else will come in and probably understand something very specific about the industry or a pain point they have and just listen to it and be like, yeah, I can fix that. No details, nothing,
Mhm.
and that's what they latch onto, right? We have our shiny baubles, they have their shiny baubles, and a lot of times they
Mhm.
don't overlap. And I think that's kind of a reminder. It's always interesting. Like even if I take it aside, I have to constantly remind myself of we're so in our industry sometimes that we forget the rest of the world doesn't know what we know. And like I asked the question about the AI earlier, and I was having like really deep conversations this weekend with some vendors and some friends and stuff, and we found
Mhm.
out it's like I tried to tell my mom what AI was, and I sent her like a DALI generated image the other day, and it blew her mind. And she's like, "Oh, did you hire a team to do that?" It's just like, it's so far out of the realm of the average day to day that we just take these things for granted. So, having
Hmm.
to like separate yourself from the industry to take a look from the outside in, I think is sometimes important. Channel IT anything, and putting yourself in their shoes, but not even like from an empathetic point, just from a like, if I had no idea what I was doing right now, could I explain what I'm doing to myself? And I don't think I could.
Mm.
There's so many layers of nested requirements and knowledge gaps and everything just to get to have the conversations we have today. And I have to remind myself that sometimes. My wife's really good at keeping me honest on that stuff.
Well, so like there's a quote that's attributed to Einstein, and I mean I never met the man, so I don't know if he said it or not,
Cool guy.
but it
Yeah.
seems Einsteinish to say.
Hmm.
And I'm paraphrasing it badly, but essentially the gist of it is if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Yeah.
And that's around theoretical physics, but like technology is the same thing. If you can't explain a technology concept to your customer
Hmm.
without using technological terms at any point of it,
Yeah.
you don't understand it well enough. You don't have to say, we're gonna create single sign-on with your Azure Active Directory instance
Hmm.
to lower the security variables that we have to manage and harden your stance towards potential breaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a bunch of industry gobbledygook. What we can do is we can take your Microsoft system and use your Microsoft username and password, and we can tie in all your other systems to use that same username and
Yeah.
password, which means you have one password to remember, which is way easier for you. It's one thing of multi-factor to buzz your phone,
Hmm.
way easier for you. And on our end, we only have to watch one space. So we only have to pay attention to one thing. We can invest in technology to secure the one thing, and everything else piggybacks off of it. So it's
That's a great,
one throat to choke.
you're, I don't want to necessarily call it a sales pitch right there, but that one thing for us to look after is, it's a kind of interesting take on that too, because I think that often gets overlooked, especially when I've talked to partners being like, I'm going to have a real hard time selling this product because it's a tool that helps us, not necessarily the client. I'm like, why don't you think that helps them? You know, a lot of MSPs I'll see have like a race to the bottom. It's like who can do it the cheapest, who can do it.
Yep.
Stop doing that. I've told partners and MSPs like you have to be profitable, and you should let your client know you need to be profitable, because if you go to business, like who's helping them, right? You need to both rise together, raise the tides, as again Matt Lee would say, right?
Oh
So
yes, good old rising tides,
it's
right?
raise all boats, yeah. But
Yeah.
that can be used in numerous areas. I think the idea is like we should never at any one point be sacrificing our business, our health, or anything like that to bring to prop anyone or any group of clients up. It has to be a partnership, right? But that goes back to like we're a servant leader. We try to help, but like you need to look after yourself and your business as well, or you'll burn out. You'll lose client. You have to downsize, and it's a spiral, really hard to get out of. So look inwards, make sure it's best for all parties,
Hmm.
not just the client, not just you. And it can lead to some very hard conversations. Sometimes you gotta fire a client because they're poison to your practice, but it's
Yep.
hard when you're looking at numbers. So this is it's a very deep and hypothetical and easy to have conversation when you're not sitting in the middle of it. So I think disconnection is a big thing. Making sure you understand from a level where you have no skin in the game, what would you do versus where you are now. So that's good. Excellent. One final thing I want to say, is there any trend you've observed in the industry, either good or bad, in let's say in the last couple of years? Because I know like we were at IT Nation together a couple of years. You're all in the channel.
Yep.
You're backstroking that thing. What do you see? Is there anything we should keep our eyes open for?
Yeah. There's a few different things. So I mean, a big part of what Carrie and I do is function, for lack of better descriptor, as an M&A brokerage. We help MSPs sell, we help MSPs buy. We make connections and things like that. And from that lens, there's been a lot of talk like, hey, M&A is going to cool down. It's not.
Yeah.
There's zero indication that M&A is slowing down. The powder that all the funds have, the money
Mhm.
that's been raised by the private equity fund, the debt-backed acquisition strategies, etc. All of that cash is in people's bank accounts, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And when it's not being deployed to buy an MSP, they're losing money on it because it's just sitting there not doing much. Even if they have
Mhm.
it in short-term investments or whatever, it's not doing
Yeah.
what they need it to do, which is growing their platforms. So if you want to sell, you can sell. That's a trend, and that's pairing with a trend of people are MSP owners in general are slowly but surely fixing some fundamental gaps that have lasted for a long time. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of databases out there. We've got one at Richardson and Richardson that's pretty powerful, and in ours we've got at any one time about 44,000 active North American managed service companies,
Yep.
and out of those, around 8,000 of them are above 2 million, and that's a really big tipping point. So if you do that math, right, like there's just under just under 36,000 of them are less than 2 million. But every day that one sells above, someone else breaches the gap. So we're starting to see
Yeah.
people get that maturity level to where they're able to grow a business above 2 million and
Mhm.
get to this tipping point of functioning more on systems and process and
Yeah.
mid-level leadership, which is cool.
And that's one of the biggest gaps that they have
Um,
to get over too. Like that tends to be the hard
mhm.
wall a lot of MSPs run into is like, where
Oh
we
yeah.
have to, we can't just keep doing it. We have to revamp, and that's. I would be curious from your expertise on this. Is that where you usually see the M&A stuff start to happen?
So we're seeing like not yet.
Mhm.
M&A, like the magic window people think is 5-1.
Yeah.
5 million in revenue, 1 million in EBITDA, which points towards a 20% profit margin, right?
Mhm.
20% of 5 is 1. But what we're seeing that flex down. So if you're at 4 and 25, you'll still be able to sell because you've got that 1 million in EBITDA.
Yeah.
But we've been seeing folks sell at 4, 4.25, 3.75.
Mhm.
It's really above like 750,000 in EBITDA.
So at that.
That's kind
Yeah.
of opening the door. So like that, it used to be 1 million was like this firm, you have to
Yeah.
have it. If you got 750, you can find the buyers.
That's interesting.
Especially if you're in a region that someone wants or you have a bit of IP that's useful. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned with the flash question on AI. This is one of those things where if you lean in early and start optimizing your MSP's performance
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're using little GPT assistants to cut down on time on target for tasks, that's a big one. But if you've got an AI consultancy
Yeah.
where you're helping your clients drop in AI and you're doing routine, not even recurring services, just professional services around AI, that's a strategic differentiator and a value multiplier that people will pay attention to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's a big one. The last one, like this is just my spot in the sandbox, right? Everything else, I've got some data, I've got numbers that I could share with people on. This one is just what is Ian observing?
Mhm.
And I am still observing a very disturbing trend of people looking for magic pills, snake oil,
Yep.
silver bullets around sales and marketing. And really around marketing. They think, they believe, they have this guttural instinct that they can outsource to an agency in some way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
and magic will fall out of the sky. And like this bubble needs to be popped.
Mhm.
If people aren't getting a strategy in place about how they're going to generate opportunities, about how they're going to have structured sales conversations, and
Yeah.
about how they're going to get better month over month, year over year at the practice of selling, that 8,000 MSP thing is going to be a firm number. Like there's never going to be more than 8,000 of them.
And that's the
So
thing.
to the 36,000 that are under 2 million,
Yeah.
wake up.
Yeah. Just having content for the sake of content. Like I'll see it all the time. I'll have people suddenly starts
Mm-hmm.
posting. I can clearly tell it's like SEO scraped articles and things like that. Just it's like I know that person. I know that partner or whatever the case is, and like they don't sell that product. But like
Yep.
the AI tool or whatever it was that they brought up, dropped a best in class so and so and like how it can change the industry. And I'm like, but they don't even provide that. And they're not even paying attention to what's spitting it out. Or, they'll, back in, you go and buy like 1 million Twitter followers for like $100 and things like that. And like that until people caught on was the way. And I suffer a little bit from it too. It's like, am I putting out content just for the sake of putting out content? Like some of my blog, and
Mm-hmm.
I won't hide it. Like my blog content is generally AI generated to an extent, but that's not where I see the value in Neon Cobra. It's these video sessions and interviews, but I see it as a necessary evil to have another avenue into the content. So it's kind of like a central point to pull
Mm-hmm.
in things. But I'm not going to sit there and like revolutionize the blog industry on what we're doing, right? What we're talking about is just it's generally I wouldn't necessarily consider it common knowledge, but it's a means to an end. I could source it out, sure, and I kind of have with AI, but that wasn't the intention. Like I know very specifically it's these timed meetings, it's these timed thing and just engagement because time is money and time is valuable. So, just trying
That's
to,
right.
build a community or a brand or whatever central around Azure, but, for MSPs, because as much as we live in it, when you take yourself up, we're often overlooked, right? A lot of enterprise grade, a lot of enterprise approaches, a lot of businesses eventually go, oh, look at this TAM, look at this addressable market we have. How do we put on
Mm-hmm.
multi-tenancy and just make it work? And they kind of like shoehorn it in. And we can tell when when a product or a vendor comes in and they were MSP first or MSP as an afterthought. It is readily apparent. And I think, being authentic on that side and trying to represent specific products or Azure in my case for that is, my North Star, my truth. So, but yeah, no, this is always an awesome conversation. It's been at least a year and a half since you and I have been in person together, I think, sitting.
Yeah, your beard is recovered. Don't worry, we'll take care of it
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. Actually, it's every once in a while I go like, "Is it time to shave?" And I go like this. I'm like, "Oh no, that's where my chin is." Nah, forget it. So, and I'll just go back and look at that video. But no, I still have flashbacks on behalf of Matt Lee and just like his
Oh
face
God,
and
yeah.
just how bummed out he was. But you know what? Like it's easy to get past that when you look at what we did. It's like, oh, okay, I
The
guess, I guess for the
the hardest thing out of that was it wasn't like Matt's was fun because there's a bunch of people and cheering and all that. So
yeah,
Jason Slagle, a buddy of mine who lives in
oh yeah,
Ohio, which I won't hold
yeah.
against
He
him.
glittered his beard before they shaved it, right? Yeah,
He glittered his beard and his kids were there and like one of his kids started crying
I
while it
remember
was getting
that.
shaved.
They hadn't
And
seen him
that
without
was
it.
like
Yeah,
okay. Like suddenly this went from fun to serious, right? Like there's
yeah.
there's kids involved. And Michael Crean was telling me about how he went home and his
Hmm.
daughter saw it and she had a pretty strong reaction too. And it's like that's reinforcing like sure it was fun to like
Yeah,
get a bunch of bearded guys together and steal their beards or whatever, but there was $200,000 raised from that initiative that went
yeah,
to charities across the country that
yeah.
do good in for veterans, for women, for
Children. Yeah,
accessibility into
yeah,
IT, for children.
yeah.
Like there was just a ton of really, really good things that were
Hmm.
done by that initiative. And like and people said like 100,000 you guys will never get there.
Yeah.
That
And
it was initially met with dismissiveness.
I think
And
we were even
not
like,
only
all right, yeah, let's see what we can do.
That's
And then,
right. Not
yeah,
only did
yeah.
it get met, it got doubled, right? And so
And
like
the
you
nice,
you
yeah,
hear it first here and Matt, I hope you hear this, but the next go around will raise $500,000.
yeah.
And that's
I
from one of the key organizers there. The next time this happens, it'll be $500,000
I
that
think
gets
we've got the
raised. So
momentum for that 100%.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, and if
I'll
I
have
got
to
to
keep
shave more beards to do it, that's what I'm gonna
it's
do.
yeah. And I can't believe you got to shave your head off scene
What I
silently and
got?
then
I got a beard,
disappear for a
right?
couple of weeks until it came back.
Oh yeah, man. Like
Yeah.
my wife was quite like one of the things that Carrie said is, look, you can go be as dumb as you want on these things or whatever.
Yeah.
You shave your head again, and we're gonna have words. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That was it. Like, I came home. We'll end on this, but like, I remember coming home to my daughter, and she would have been 2 at the time, and she just
Uh-huh.
looks at me and she goes, "Why, Dad?" And then walked away and just left the room. And I was like, my son was like, "I liked you better with your beard." I'm like, "Thanks for the support, everybody. This is great." And then for the next week, it's my daughter just touching my face. "Grow your
Uh-huh.
beard back, Dad. Grow your beard back." But,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's all they know. Anyways, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Give everyone my regards. I'll see you in the wild probably at some point soon. But
For sure.
to the
For
next
sure.
initiatives,
Stay warm up there in Canada.
always. Actually, it's 8 Celsius today. Whatever that is in freedom units, you can all Google it.
That's right. Like 50, maybe 45,
50.
50,
About
something.
that, yeah. Not 32. That's the center point. So excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you next time.